What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I will be talking about the UFC Fight Night in the UK and two great boxing cards for Top Rank, those being the July 22nd card and the July 25th card in Tokyo. First, getting into the UFC Fight Night, headlined by heavyweights Tom Aspinall versus mercintybura. It's a very good card with many great fights and prospects. And to start it off, I want to mention Jafelfilho. In his last fight, he lost to Muhammad Mokaev, but oh boy, was that a good fight. If you remember, Filho had Mokaev in an extremely dangerous leg lock that looked as if he was going to pull off the win, but sadly no. Mokaev came back and got a win, but Filho still left a great impression on fans like myself. Another great fight between two good prospects is chrisduncan versus yanalashmouz. Two good prospects with a high chance of giving us a great finish. Also on the card is daveygrant versus danielmarcos. A lot of people see Marcos as a heavy favorite, but daveygrant can give him a good fight. And there is also two good fighters as paulcraig comes down to middleweight to face andresmuniz. This is going to be an amazing fight with both fighters coming off losses where they were finished. So this is going to be a great hard fought fight between two good fighters. And I really want to see how Paul is going to do in this new weight division. Now for the main event, Tom Aspinall versus mercintybura. By the time this fight happens, it will be 364 days since the injury that has sidelined Tom occurred. If you remember, Tom had a gruesome leg injury 20 seconds into his Fight Night main event versus Curtis Blades. This fight is really, in my opinion, an easy fight for Tom. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying Tom is going to run through Tybura, but if he doesn't win, I'll be shocked. There's levels to this, and Tom, in my opinion, was one of the best heavyweights in the world, at least before the injury. We'll have to wait and see how Tom performs after the injury. How I see this fight ending, I see Tom Aspinall knocking out mercintybura. Next for boxing, starting off with the July 22nd top rank card headlined by georgekambosos versus maxihuges. There is many prospects on this card. To start off by mentioning a few, starting with troyisley. Troy is a good feisty fighter. He won't bring the most power, but as of right now, he has been the better quote-unquote boxer than his opponents. And as it should be, Top Rank is doing a great job building him. Also on the card is giovannisantillan. He is not someone who I consider to be a prospect, as he is 31 years old already and he needs a step up. Top Rank has been building him for way too long, in my opinion. He has a record of 30 wins, 0 losses. Santillan hasn't done the best marketing himself either. This fight isn't the toughest, but he is fighting a very durable opponent in erickbone. And in Eric's last 7 fights, he's had 6 finishes by knockout. So Eric obviously has power, but I expect Giovanni's boxing to be too much for him. The real star on the card is the co-main event, and that is headlined by Keyshawndavis. Keyshawn is an absolute beast. There's very few fighters that can fight like Keyshawn. He has crazy knockout power and a great boxing ability. He's facing Francesco Patera, and to just be completely honest, I don't see there being any chance Patera stops this hype train. Keyshawn is one of those different fighters you rarely see. For the main event, a fight I'm not all that interested in, georgekambosos versus maxihuges. Now, George is coming off of 2 straight losses to current undisputed champion Devin Haney. This will be George's first fight officially with Top Rank, so they really have to make him look good and try and get some return on that investment. And just being straightforward, I believe georgekambosos will be able to pull off the decision victory, as I think something we've all seen in George's fights is that he is a very high level lightweight. And like I've said already before, there's levels to this, and I just think Maxi isn't on George's level, just like George wasn't on Devin Haney's level. Now for the top rank card on July 25th. It's an obviously huge fight card due to the main event, but the one downside is that the fight is on a Tuesday in the early fucking morning, 4 in the morning where I live, and you may ask yourself, there's no way anyone could wake up that early just to watch a couple guys fight. But oh boy, are you wrong. There's no way I'm missing the co-main event and main event. First, for the co-main event, Robeisyramirez versus Satoshishimizu for Robeisy's WBO featherweight title. This will be Robeisy's first title defense, and it's against a very tough opponent in his opponent's home country. This will be Satoshi's first world title opportunity, and it comes at the very ripe age of 37 years old. This is going to be an extremely fun, action-packed fight. Satoshi is a very strong, hard-hitting fighter. His last opponent had a record of 14 wins, 22 losses. So that's just a little insight into the type of opponents he's fought. Satoshi also is not very active, as the last time he fought more than one time in a calendar year was 2018. Robeisy, on the other hand, is a very awkward fighter. He also has power, and he's not the best defensively sound boxer, so he has been getting hit a lot and by some hard shots before. This does give Satoshi a good chance with the power he has, but for who I have winning this fight, I believe that Robeisy-Ramirez will come out victorious by decision. Yes, you could say whatever you want about him not winning a decision in another country, but it's not like it hasn't happened before. Satoshi does have a chance, obviously, with his power, but I feel Robeisy's awkward style would be too hard for Satoshi to figure out. Now for the main event, Stephen Fulton versus Naoya Inoue for Fulton's junior featherweight, WBC, and WBO titles. This is an absolute amazing fight. I can't wait to see. First, getting into champion Stephen Fulton. Fulton has a record of 21 wins, 0 losses, with 8 wins coming by knockout. He first won the WBO title off Angel Lee in January 2021 before beating Brandon Figueroa for the WBC title. For my opinion on the Fulton vs. Figueroa fight, to be completely honest, I feel Fulton lost that fight. A complete robbery. Talking about Fulton's game, he really has no power, but the rest of his game really makes up for it. He's very skilled and usually is able to dictate the fight. It was in the Brandon fight that Fulton decided to fight Brandon's fight, and it didn't look good for Fulton. Fulton was also retreating to the ropes in that fight a lot. He was not having success while doing that. But besides that, Fulton also does a good job mixing his attack with head and body to really have his opponent thinking. Fulton at times seemed to be visibly stunned, but he's never officially been dropped in his career. Now, for Stephen Fulton's opponent, Naoya Inoue. Inoue has a record of 24 wins, 0 losses, with 21 of his wins coming by knockout. Inoue is a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter, in my opinion. He has held a world title since 2014, an absolute amazing feat. Inoue is currently on a 5-fight knockout streak. His last fight that didn't end in a knockout came against Nonito Donaire over 3 years ago. Since then, he has knocked out Donaire, finishing him in the second round. This will be Inoue's quest for his 4th different division title. He's nicknamed the Monster, and this suits him so well, an absolute monster of the lower weight divisions. Getting into a little of how Inoue has fought, he really likes to use his jab. The pressure he applies on his opponents is very important, and it will be even more important in this fight versus Fulton if Fulton doesn't impose himself early. The power is there. His fights could end at any second. Inoue does at times tend to overextend himself when his opponents are on the ropes, and that is a major plus for the slightly taller and longer fighter in Fulton. Inoue does also at times get a little too punch happy, and that leads to him taking some unnecessary shots that are easily avoidable. Inoue has shown he could take a punch though. For who I have winning this fight, I believe Naoya Inoue will be too much for Stephen Fulton, and it will end in a Naoya Inoue knockout. And he will be crowned a unified champion and Japan's second ever 4-division world champion. Fulton does have a chance, but he needs to pressure Inoue and have Inoue fight off his back foot. But to do that, he's going to have to stand in front of Inoue, and they'll be exchanging shots. And who would think that Inoue would lose a fight like that, as he has the pretty obvious power advantage. Nonetheless, this is the best fight that could have happened in boxing, in my opinion. Major props to both fighters for taking this fight. Crawford vs. Spence is good, but this fight will be better. Mark my words. Now, the question I wanted to ask you viewers, how would you guys like to have me go live on fight days to get my live reaction to the fights and other sporting events, where if I were to pick a fight or winner of a game wrong, I do a challenge, and if I fail the challenge, I give something away to you, the viewers, but if I pass the challenge, I don't give something away. I feel I would really enjoy a type of live stream like that. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. If enough of you like the idea, I will be doing a live stream Saturday night for the Crawford Spence card and UFC 291. Thank you guys for staying until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you'd like a live stream where you have a chance of winning free items. Also, follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you next week as I talk about what went down in these fights. See you then.